The chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with the anxious whispers of 100 species. Ambassador Riley Martinez of Earth leaned back in his chair, absently swirling the last dregs of coffee in his titanium travel mug. The blue-tinted holographic displays surrounding the circular chamber flickered with urgent transmissions, casting an eerie glow across the faces of concerned delegates. "Earth has gone too far this time," hissed Delegate Meraki, his translucent skin pulsating with bioluminescent anger. "Your trade tariffs violate 3 separate provisions of the Galactic Economic Accord." Riley suppressed a smile. "Perhaps your interpretation of the accord differs from ours." At the center of the chamber, High Chancellor Vexar of the Corphic Empire rose to his full 3-meter height, all 4 of his eyes narrowing simultaneously. His crimson, ceremonial armor gleamed under the chamber lights as he pointed a clawed finger toward the Earth delegation. "Humans," Vexar began, his translator rendering his clicking language into the common galactic standard. "You forget your place. Earth joined the Galactic Council barely 30 years ago. You are newcomers, beneficiaries of technologies you barely understand." Riley set down his coffee mug with deliberate calm. "Chancellor, with all due respect, Earth's industrial capacity has tripled in the last decade. Our shipyards at Mars and Titan are producing vessels that match Corfax specifications at half the cost. That's not a violation, that's competition." While the delegates continued their heated debate, thousands of kilometers away, Admiral Sarah Thompson stood at the command center of Earth's orbital platform, Moliere. The platform was officially listed as a civilian research station. Its true purpose remained classified even from most of Earth's government. "Status report," Sarah demanded, her eyes fixed on the holographic projection of the solar system. Lieutenant Park, her communications officer, glanced up from his console. "All 18 defense clusters report normal operation. The Solar Defense Network remains at Readiness Level 3. Sarah nodded. Few people knew that Earth's official defense forces, the 12 battle cruisers and 48 frigates proudly displayed during diplomatic functions, represented less than 5% of humanity's true military strength. Project Sleeping Giant, a network of 18,000 cloaked defense platforms strategically positioned throughout the solar system, remained Earth's most closely guarded secret. The Admiral stared out the viewport at the distant blue sphere of Earth. 20 years ago, when humanity first made contact with the Galactic Council, Earth had been dismissed as a backwater world, technologically inferior and politically irrelevant. That perception had been useful, providing cover as human scientists reverse-engineered alien technologies and developed innovations that even the oldest Council races hadn't conceived. "Admiral," Lieutenant Park called, his voice suddenly tense. "Priority 1 alert from deep space sensors." Sarah's body stiffened. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, highlighting a massive formation approaching from the direction of Corfax space. Lieutenant Park's fingers flew across his console, data streams cascading down secondary displays. 847 vessels, Admiral, Corfax warships, including 217 dreadnoughts. Their trajectory puts them on direct course for Earth. Park paused, swallowing hard. "They've activated their weapon systems." "Verification?" Sarah demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline now flooding her system. "Triple-checked, ma'am. And there's more. We've intercepted transmissions between the Fleet Commander and Corfax High Command. They're calling this Operation Earthfall. Their orders are to—" Park hesitated. "Say it, Lieutenant." "Their orders are to eliminate all human military assets and reduce Earth's population centers to ash. They're calling it a necessary lesson in humility." Sarah closed her eyes briefly. "Estimated time to weapons range?" 3 hours, 17 minutes, Admiral." Sarah moved to the secure communications terminal. "Contact Ambassador Martinez immediately. Priority Alpha." Back in the Council chamber, Riley's secure communicator vibrated against his wrist. The tiny display flashed with a message that made his blood run cold. Corfac fleet inbound. Hostile intent confirmed. 847 vessels. Riley maintained his neutral expression as he listened to Vexar continue his tirade about Earth's economic transgressions. The timing was hardly coincidental. "Chancellor," Riley interrupted smoothly, "am I correct in understanding that you feel Earth's industrial development threatens Corfac economic interests?" Vexar's upper eyes blinked in surprise at the interruption. "Your understanding is irrelevant. The Council will address these violations, or there will be consequences." An alarm suddenly shrieked through the chamber. The central holographic display shifted to show a massive fleet in tight formation, moving rapidly through space. "Emergency alert," announced the Council's AI system. "Large-scale military mobilization detected in Sector 9. 847 Corfac warships on course for the Sol system." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions and accusations while others hurriedly contacted their governments. Riley remained seated, his expression unreadable as he tapped a sequence on his wrist communicator. "Order in the chamber!" demanded Delegate Tessara, the elderly Merskian representative who served as head of the Council Security Committee. As the noise subsided, all eyes turned to Chancellor Vexar, who stood motionless at the center of the room. "Chancellor," Tessara said, her feline features rigid with shock, "explain this mobilization immediately." Vexar's secondary arms crossed over his chest in a gesture of Corfac pride. "Earth has been warned repeatedly about their economic aggression. When warnings fail, lessons must be taught." "You've launched a military strike against a council member without authorization?" Tessara's voice rose with incredulity. "The Corfac Empire exercises its sovereign right to protect its interests," Vexar replied coldly. "Earth will learn respect, or Earth will burn." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Riley, who still hadn't risen from his seat. Instead, he took a slow sip from his coffee mug before setting it down with a soft click. "Ambassador Martinez," Tessara said carefully, "the Council offers emergency defensive support. We can dispatch peacekeeping vessels within—" "That won't be necessary," Riley interrupted, his voice calm. "Earth appreciates the Council's concern, but we'll handle this situation." Nervous laughter rippled through the chamber. Delegate Meraki leaned forward. "Ambassador, perhaps you misunderstand. 847 warships are approaching your world. Your entire defense fleet consists of 60 vessels. 60 official vessels," Riley corrected with a slight smile. "Though I appreciate your concern, Delegate." On the Moliere platform, Sarah stood before her command staff. "Activate Sleeping Giant. Authorization code Thompson, Omega 747. Lieutenant Park's fingers danced across his console. "Transmitting activation codes now, Admiral." Throughout the solar system, thousands of hidden platforms silently powered up. Some had been disguised as asteroids, others as derelict ships or space debris. Each contained molecular disruptor technology, a weapon system that Earth had developed in secret by combining elements of alien science with human ingenuity. "Admiral," Park reported, "all platforms report ready status. Targeting solutions locked on the Corfac fleet." Sarah nodded grimly. "Execute Operation Firewall." In the Council chamber, the emergency holographic display continued tracking the Corfac fleet's approach. Riley casually checked the time. "I'd like to see the tactical feed," he requested. Delegate Tessara gestured, and the hologram expanded to show the fleet in greater detail. The massive formation of ships gleamed against the darkness of space, weapons ports visibly open. "Ambassador," Vexar said with cruel satisfaction, "perhaps you'd like to contact your government and suggest immediate surrender. It would save many lives." Riley glanced at his communicator. "Actually, Chancellor, I think I'll wait. It should be about—" He paused, checking the time again. 47 seconds now." The chamber fell silent as all eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Corfac fleet continued its advance, unchanged. Then, in an instant that caused several delegates to cry out in shock, the entire fleet vanished. Where 847 warships had been, there was now only empty space. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The Council's AI system ran a diagnostic on the holographic display, confirming that the feed was functioning correctly. "What happened?" Delegate Meraki finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Riley stood, straightening his jacket. "It appears the Corfac fleet has encountered some sort of difficulty." Chancellor Vexar stormed toward the Earth delegation, his ceremonial armor clattering. "What have you done?" he demanded, his translator struggling to convey the fury in his voice. "Done?" Riley replied innocently. "The fleet was in international space. We have no jurisdiction there." Tessara tapped rapidly on her console, bringing up secondary sensor readings. "The ships are gone," she said in disbelief. "No debris, no energy signatures. They've simply vanished." "Fascinating," Riley commented. "Perhaps they experienced a mass navigational error?" Vexar loomed over Riley, all four eyes blazing. "You destroyed my fleet." "That's a serious accusation, Chancellor," Riley replied, meeting the alien's gaze steadily. "Do you have evidence to support it?" "On the Moliere platform." Sarah watched the aftermath through her own tactical display. The molecular disruptors had performed exactly as designed, breaking the atomic bonds of the targeted vessels instantaneously. No explosions, no debris fields, just the conversion of matter to its component particles, dispersed harmlessly into space. "Operation complete, Admiral," Lieutenant Park reported. "All targets neutralized. No collateral effects detected." Sarah nodded slowly. "Deactivate Sleeping Giant. Return to standby status." "You understand what we've just done, don't you?" she asked quietly. Lieutenant Park looked up from his console. "Defended Earth, ma'am." "We've changed the balance of power in the galaxy," Sarah corrected. "After today, nothing will be the same." In the council chamber, an emergency session had been convened. Delegates from all member worlds gathered to address what was already being called the Corfac disappearance. Chancellor Vexar had been temporarily removed from the chamber after threatening the Earth ambassador. "The Council demands an explanation," Tessara stated formally. 847 vessels don't simply vanish without cause. Riley stood at the speaker's podium, his expression serious for the first time. The Corfac Empire launched an unprovoked attack against Earth with the stated intention of genocide. Under Article 12 of the Council Charter, all worlds retain the right to self-defense. "Self-defense typically leaves evidence," Delegate Meraki countered. "Debris, energy signatures, something." Riley smiled thinly. "Earth's defense technologies have evolved somewhat beyond our official disclosures." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. Tessara leaned forward. "Are you claiming responsibility for the fleet's disappearance?" "I'm acknowledging that Earth possesses defensive capabilities appropriate to its security needs," Riley replied carefully. "The Corfac fleet posed an existential threat to my world. That threat has been neutralized." "In 47 seconds," someone whispered loudly enough to be heard throughout the chamber. Riley didn't respond to the comment. Instead, he activated a small, holographic projector he'd placed on the podium. It displayed an image of the solar system, with thousands of small points of light scattered throughout. "For transparency," he continued, "I've been authorized to inform the Council that Earth maintains a comprehensive defensive network throughout our system. Any unauthorized military vessels entering our space will be treated as hostile and dealt with accordingly." "You're describing an automated killing field," Tessara said, her voice tight with shock. "This violates at least 7 Council security protocols." "Actually," Riley countered, "it doesn't. We've reviewed the protocols carefully. There are no restrictions on defensive systems contained entirely within a member's sovereign territory." As the implications sank in, General Marcus Webb arrived at the Moliere platform. Sarah met him in her private office, away from the command center. "The Council knows," Webb said without preamble. "Ambassador Martinez has revealed Sleeping Giant." Sarah nodded. "It was inevitable after the demonstration. How are they taking it?" "About as well as you'd expect. Shock, outrage, fear." Webb poured himself a glass of water from the dispenser on Sarah's desk. "More importantly, how is Olympus coming along?" Sarah activated her secure terminal, bringing up schematics for Project Olympus, a weapons platform 100 times more powerful than any Sleeping Giant unit, capable of targeting systems up to 50 light-years from Earth. "Final assembly phase," she answered. "The Jupiter shipyards estimate completion within 3 months." Webb studied the schematics. "You realize what Martinez is likely doing right now?" "Playing the only card we have," Sarah replied. "Fear." At the council chamber, Riley had finished his presentation. The delegates sat in stunned silence, processing the revelation that Earth, considered a minor power just hours ago, possessed technology capable of destroying an entire battle fleet without a trace. "There will be consequences for this," Tessara finally said. "The Council cannot allow unilateral military action of this scale, regardless of provocation." Riley nodded in understanding. "Earth respects the Council's authority. However, we believe today's events present an opportunity." "An opportunity?" Delegate Meraki repeated incredulously. "For a more stable galactic peace," Riley clarified. He touched his podium controls, and the holographic display changed to show a document titled Galactic Peace and Security Initiative. "Earth proposes a new security framework," Riley explained. "We offer our defensive technologies as a peacekeeping deterrent, under strict ethical guidelines and with full Council oversight." "You're proposing to become the galaxy's police force," Tessara said flatly. Riley smiled. "We're proposing to share the burden of maintaining peace. Any aggressor nation will face the same consequences as the Corfac fleet." "This is extortion," Meraki objected. "You demonstrate a terrifying weapon, then offer protection in exchange for political power." "Not at all," Riley countered smoothly. "We're offering a practical solution to galactic conflicts that have claimed billions of lives over centuries. Earth has no territorial ambitions beyond our system. We seek only security and fair trade." "And if the Council rejects your initiative?" Tessara asked quietly. Riley's expression remained pleasant, but his eyes hardened slightly. "Then Earth will focus solely on its own defense. Any vessel entering the Sol system without prior authorization will be considered hostile. We'll withdraw from all military cooperation agreements and trade pacts that might compromise our security." The meaning was clear. Accept Earth's offer of protection, or face isolation from a power that could destroy fleets in seconds. "The Council will need time to consider this proposal," Tessara said, her voice carefully neutral. Riley nodded. "Of course. Earth understands this is a significant shift in policy." He paused, checking his watch. "We'll await your decision. The Council has 1 hour." As Riley left the podium, the chamber erupted in frantic discussion. Delegate Tessara immediately called an emergency closed session, excluding all Earth representatives. Riley found a quiet alcove off the main corridor and activated his secure communicator. "Sarah, it's done. I've made the proposal." Admiral Thompson's voice came through clearly. "And?" "They're terrified, as expected. The timeline may force their hand." "You only gave them an hour," Sarah sounded concerned. "We can't give them time to form coalitions or develop countermeasures," Riley explained. "It has to be now, while they're still reeling." There was a pause before Sarah replied. "The military is prepared to enforce whatever decision comes from this. But Riley, we're crossing a line here." "The line was crossed when Vexar sent 847 ships to exterminate our species," Riley replied sharply. Then, more softly, "I know. Sarah, I don't like these tactics either. but it's the only language the Council understands. In the closed session, the Council delegates faced a stark choice. Delegate Tessara had summarized their options bluntly: accept Earth's initiative and grant them unprecedented power in galactic affairs, or reject it and risk isolation from a civilization with terrifying military capabilities. "We cannot surrender to extortion," argued Delegate Meraki. "Today it's Earth making demands. Tomorrow it could be any world with superior weapons." Ambassador Clickstar, representative of the ancient harmonious collective, raised his crystalline appendage. "I have accessed our historical archives," he said, his voice a melodic hum. 3 civilizations in galactic history have developed similar molecular disruptor technology. All 3 were destroyed by preemptive coalition strikes. "Are you suggesting we attack Earth?" Tessara asked. "I am providing context," Clickstar replied. "Those civilizations use their advantage to conquer. Earth offers protection. This distinction may be significant." As the debate continued, General Webb and Admiral Thompson met with Earth's Defense Council via secure holographic link. The 12 highest-ranking military officers and defense scientists gathered virtually to assess the unfolding situation. The diplomatic gambit is a stopgap measure at best. Dr. Eliza Novak, chief scientist of Project Olympus, explained. "Once other powers realize the limitations of our current network, they'll develop countermeasures. They already believe we can destroy any fleet that approaches Earth," Webb countered. "That perception is our greatest asset." "Perception isn't enough," Sarah insisted. "The Corfac were bold enough to send a fleet once. Others will test our boundaries." "Then we need to ensure Olympus is operational on schedule," Webb said firmly. "Once it's active, we'll have the capability to back up our diplomatic position with real power." At precisely the 1-hour mark, the Council reconvened. Earth's delegation, led by Riley, took their seats as Delegate Tessara approached the central podium. "After careful deliberation," she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "the Galactic Council has voted on Earth's proposed Galactic Peace and Security Initiative." Riley maintained a neutral expression, though his heart pounded in his chest. By a vote of 112 to 14, with 6 abstentions, the Council accepts the initiative, subject to the formation of an oversight committee with representatives from all major galactic regions. A collective exhale seemed to sweep through the chamber. Riley rose to approach the podium, extending his hand to Tessara in the human gesture of agreement. "Earth thanks the Council for its wisdom," he said, his voice carrying through the chamber. "Together, we begin a new era of galactic security." As formal protocols were initiated to document the agreement, Chancellor Vexar was permitted to return to the chamber. The Corfac leader approached Riley with rigid formality. "The Corfac Empire acknowledges Earth's defensive supremacy," Vexar said, each word clearly painful to utter. "We propose a bilateral security alliance." Riley understood the request for what it was: an attempt to gain protection and privileged status in the new order. "The Empire's proposal will be given full consideration," he replied diplomatically. Within hours, delegations from across the galaxy were approaching Earth's representatives with treaty offers, trade proposals, and security agreements. The diplomatic staff, overwhelmed by the sudden attention, worked frantically to process the flood of requests. Meanwhile, Sarah Thompson stood in the observation deck of the Molir platform, watching Earth rotate slowly below. General Webb joined her, his expression troubled. "It worked," he said simply. Sarah nodded. "Too well. We've just become the most powerful and feared civilization in the galaxy. Every species will either seek our protection or plot our destruction." "Would you prefer the alternative?" Webb asked. "The Corfac fleet would have reached Earth in 3 hours. Billions would have died." "I know we did what was necessary," Sarah replied. "I'm concerned about what comes next. Power like this changes people, changes societies." Webb didn't respond immediately. Finally, he said. "The Oversight Committee will provide some check on our authority." Sarah laughed without humor. "A committee we created, operating under rules we designed. It's window dressing, Marcus, and you know it." "Perhaps," Webb conceded. "But it's better than the alternative. The galaxy has been at war for millennia. If fear of Earth keeps the peace, isn't that preferable?" "Peace through fear isn't peace," Sarah countered. "It's a pause before something worse." 3 days later, Riley Martinez returned to Earth for the first time since the crisis began. His shuttle descended through the atmosphere, the curve of the planet filling the viewport. He had expected to feel triumphant. Instead, he felt a profound weariness. His security detail met him at the landing pad. "Welcome back, Ambassador," the lead officer greeted him. "The President is waiting to congratulate you personally." Riley nodded absently as they escorted him to the waiting transport. Through the window, he could see construction crews working on a massive new complex adjacent to the spaceport. "What's that?" he asked, gesturing toward the construction. "Project Olympus Control Center," the officer replied. "They've moved the timetable forward. The President wants it operational within 2 months." Riley felt a chill despite the warmth of the transport. The ease with which Earth had established dominance troubled him more than he had anticipated. There had been no resistance, no meaningful debate, just immediate capitulation. "Too easy," he murmured to himself. "Sir?" the officer asked. "Nothing," Riley replied. "Just thinking about what comes next." As the transport moved toward the capital, Riley's secure communicator signaled an incoming message from Sarah. He accepted the transmission, and her holographic image appeared above his wrist. "Congratulations, Ambassador," she said formally, aware that others might be listening. "Your diplomatic initiative has been a complete success." Riley nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. Any updates on our special projects?" "Olympus proceeds ahead of schedule," Sarah replied. "And there's something else you should see." Her image was replaced by a sensor reading, showing the region of space where the Corfac fleet had been neutralized. Riley studied the image with confusion. "What am I looking at?" Sarah's voice continued over the image. The molecular disruptors converted the fleet's matter to its component particles. Those particles are beginning to coalesce due to gravitational forces. Riley watched as the sensor reading zoomed in, revealing a sparse but beautiful cloud of microscopic particles, glittering as they caught the light of distant stars. "In a few thousand years," Sarah continued, "that region will develop a unique nebula formation. Astronomers of the future will study it. Unaware they're observing the remains of 847 warships and their crews." The image faded, replaced again by Sarah's face. "Actions have consequences, Riley. Some immediate, some we won't live to see." Riley ended the transmission without responding. As the transport approached the Capitol building, he could see crowds lining the streets, cheering and waving. News of Earth's sudden rise to power had transformed public sentiment from fear to pride almost overnight. The officer beside him smiled. "They're calling you the architect of the new galactic order." Riley watched the crowds through the tinted windows. "Funny," he said quietly. "I never wanted to be an architect. I just wanted Earth to be safe." "Well, you succeeded," the officer replied enthusiastically. "No one would dare threaten us now." As the transport slowed to navigate through the cheering crowds, Riley thought about the nebula forming thousands of light years away, a monument to power, fear, and the ease with which peace could be enforced through overwhelming force. "That's what worries me," he murmured, too softly for anyone else to hear. In the command center of the Moliere platform, Sarah Thompson reviewed the latest intelligence reports. 17 species had already signed Earth's protection treaties. Another 39 were in negotiations. The Corfac Empire, desperate to regain standing, had offered unprecedented technological access in exchange for preferential status. Lieutenant Park approached with a data tablet. "Admiral, The expansion plans for Sleeping Giant have been approved. Construction begins next week. Sarah accepted the tablet, skimming the details. The network would triple in size, extending Earth's protective umbrella to allied worlds within 50 light-years. "Has anyone declined our protection?" she asked. Park hesitated. 3 systems in the Outer Rim have formally rejected the initiative. They've announced a policy of armed neutrality. Sarah set down the tablet. "Keep monitoring their communications. Any sign of coalition building or weapons development, flag it immediately." "Yes, Admiral," Park replied. He paused, then asked the question many had been thinking. "Is this what we wanted? To become the galaxy's enforcer?" Sarah looked up at the tactical display, where thousands of Allied vessels now moved through trade routes under Earth's protection. Piracy had already decreased by 60%. Incidents of cross-border aggression had dropped to near zero. "What we wanted doesn't matter anymore," she answered finally. "This is who we are now." As Riley's transport finally arrived at the Capitol building, he steeled himself for the ceremonies ahead. There would be speeches, medals, proclamations of a new era of human leadership. He thought about how quickly it had happened. One moment of decisive action, 47 seconds of molecular disruption, and the entire galactic order had realigned itself with Earth at its center. The transport door opened, and Riley stepped out to thunderous applause. Cameras flashed as he waved to the crowd, his diplomatic smile firmly in place. 847 ships had threatened Earth. Their destruction had created something far more dangerous than any fleet, an empire built on fear. As Riley climbed the steps to meet the president, he made a silent promise to himself. He would use his influence to temper power with restraint, to balance security with liberty. It wouldn't be easy. Power, once tasted, was rarely relinquished voluntarily. In the void of space, 47 light-years from Earth, the first components of Project Olympus moved silently into position. When complete, it would extend Earth's destructive reach across vast distances, ensuring that no threat could ever materialize beyond their defensive perimeter. Peace through power, security through fear. The galaxy would learn to live with this new reality, just as Riley and Sarah would learn to bear the responsibility of wielding such terrible strength. The Age of Earth had begun. Its birth had taken just 47 seconds,